Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'd like first of all to thank His Highness Sheikh Maktoum bin Rashid for supporting the Dubai initiatives in the all futures industries in all their aspects, not necessarily the blockchain. And Dubai today, I think, have to show to many countries that is at the frontier of innovations, not by saying, but also by being practical. I think the most important, at the end of the day, we can have lots of innovative ideas. If they are not practical, it's not going to work. I'm not going to cover most of the blockchain, what it does and what it doesn't, since our partner, Mr. Ken Lowe, showing you the practicality of doing business with the blockchain. So at ANX Ebitx, basically what we do is we are focused on the practical part of the business, not much on the philosophical part of it. So the function and the disruptive infrastructure of the blockchain, I think we have covered that part. Basically, everybody knows what it does and how good it is. And now it's a matter of implementing this infrastructure within the various economical layers of a country or internationally with main central banks. So our effort really is to have this being implemented and recognized globally. I haven't seen a lot today on the execution and the capacity side. I just want to remind everyone on the floor that the blockchain technology today, in terms of execution, is not the fastest around the block. We will view that. So what's the blockchain versus the traditional existing infrastructure? That's a good comparative thing to do. The application, I think most of the viewers have heard what are the different applications. The cost of cash, that is very important for us today. We will view how what cost us to actually print and handle cash versus the future of electronic currencies. That's the cash versus the electronic currencies. The future of doing business, how we view it at ANX Ebitx. And we are working very actively and putting lots of effort into the next generation architecture of banking. So I'm gonna pass this because just to give you a quick recap on what everyone has said earlier. Basically, everything is identified within one block and the information go all the way to the delivery. Contrary to what IBM is, the way IBM is viewing that with the banking system, it's not gonna happen anytime soon. I am a little bit skeptic about that viewing. For the simple reason is that, number one, most of the banks around the world are having major issues in profitability, so they need to generate profitability and reduce their operational cost. Let it be blockchain or anything else, as long as the profit margins are covered, I think any bank will be happy. And that's applicable for any business, by the way. So the blockchain management maximum transaction is 7 transactions per second. Just to give you an idea, it's significantly lower, for example, than, as I said earlier, Visa that is currently doing 2,000 transactions per second. To give you an idea of the speed of delivery. So at ANX Ebitx, we are working very, very sharply in levitating this issue of time delivery, which is very consuming. So the Bitcoin blockchain database is increasing. Everybody knows that. According to the blockchain info, the size increases from 35 gigabytes, that is almost 70 gigabytes in the previous last 12 months only. So you could see how it's going right up. That shows the interest, but not necessarily the solution. So here we go. That's the data that has been released. So the blockchain can be used, as everybody once said, with the digital transaction deeds, the banking regulators. What we mean about banking regulators, we are very focused on how, let's say, you know, when you send a flare, before you hit a target, you send a flare so that you know where the target is a little bit like this. It's before we deliver the blockchain, we are looking at what comes to cover all the legal part of validated the transaction itself. So you have two things. In one hand, you have and that's a very interesting process because most of the banks, the central banks and regulators want to see that. So our effort is to make the whole ecosystem comfortable, not in a way to revolutionize everything in a very short period of time, but rather in consolidating on what already exists. So being practical. So the blockchain can be used easily to disrupt throughout multiple parties, which can yield traditional available and reliability over traditional structures that we see existing today. I'm going to pass this because we've been talking about this. So the application for us where we are focused, there is a very large pilot project that took place in the US, in California, and on an exchange platform that is managed by the blockchain. And we've seen a very efficient ways of delivering the settlements of the transactions, and that is very important. In terms of profit margin, obviously the whole operational cost is going lower, so the lump sum profits of each transaction can be also lower, which makes the whole process very effective. The e-commerce solutions, as everyone knows, I don't know if you went to Alibaba or here at souk.com, you'd see that the profit margins on any products are very, very low. So anything that can generate or increase those profits are more to welcome. So we at ANX Ebitx are putting a very strong effort in giving the solutions to the customers so that they're happy and it's practical and it's working and it's actually lowering the operational costs. The banking settlements, IBM is viewing, I mean, I keep on talking about IBM because I heard the presentation and they basically very skeptic on the settlement part of the banking. Yes, everybody, all the banks, all the regulators do dislike the Bitcoin and all this stuff, but we are not interested about the Bitcoin. We are rather interested about the e-currency to replace the fiat currency, or having all kind of settlements, let it be transactions that are occurring with the port authorities that they were saying, or let it be just pure financial transactions, whatever settlements need to be done with the bank. There are different layers that we are working in, putting these different layers together in a practical solution that banks actually can see and operate on themselves. So the customer identification, that's a very big plus by using the blockchain technology. So far, with the platform operated by ANX, we haven't had anything hacked, so we have a very good tracking record. For the regulators, we are working in approaching the regulators in two ways. In one, by delivering the legal framework and implementation of the legal framework. It doesn't really matter geographically if in Alaska they choose to do it in one way, or in New York they're doing it in a different way, or in Dubai they're different way. At the end of the day, it's a process. We have to integrate the process into the recognition and the confirmation of the process. So basically, banks would be happy and regulators as well. And that's what we are investing our money in. So to give you an idea about what are the cost of cash, in the Federal Reserve this year has been spent about 737 million, 0.4 to be very precise, and all that money was just spent in printing money. I mean, that's amazing. And I'm going to start with the highest denomination. For $100, they've been spending 14.3 cents. And that's not taking in consideration how do you the cost of transporting money, the cost of human error, the cost of counterfeit currency. So all of these costs are added, and really we don't have an exact statistic today to look at the whole thing very objectively. But what we do know is that the e-currency alleviates all these issues. So I encourage very much government bodies to look at this and try to think as how, by the way, there is a project that went through very well at the country level. Tunisia, in the last months, have introduced an e-currency system where, and slowly to alleviate the fiat currency. Just by utilizing this technology, in one hand, it lowered the operational cost, and in the second hand, it has a direct impact on verifying all the transactions that take place. So I give you an example. I'm a country, I have lots of money going in and going out. I don't know if everybody pays his taxes or not. I want to control everything, and that's legitimate for many reasons. It can be legitimate for security reasons. It can be legitimate for tax purposes, and so forth and so on. So by utilizing the e-currency, what we think is that ultimately, not only we reduce the human error, the operational cost, and etc., but also we give a greater empowerment to the government bodies. Here, I'm not going to be repeating again what I just said. The comparison between using the cash versus using the e-currency. But look at this. I want you to look at it in this way. Instead of looking at the Bitcoin as first of all, it doesn't matter if the Bitcoin is going, because I heard earlier the Bitcoin is going up and is going down and is doing great and all this, but the reality is it's not integrated in the global ecosystem. And if you have this kind of phenomenon, the growth of the impact is very, very limited. Versus if you take an existing currency, let's say, for example, we take the dirham, and we turn the dirham into being a totally e-currency. Denmark, one of the leading countries in this, has absolutely working very, very hard in removing the cash currency. In many parts of Denmark today, you wouldn't be able to pay anything with hard cash. And the reason why is not only because it's really to control better the whole ecosystem. And I think that with the blockchain technology, we have lots of advantages, and we need to take that in consideration. So I say the future is today because it's really happening now. It's not going to happen tomorrow. Again, I think that from our side, at Ebitx ANX, we are focused in being practical and delivering to what our customer need. So the future of doing business is revolutionized, indeed. Lots of people are skeptic on how this will grow and how long it will take to grow. I'm personally not, because I've seen it growing very quickly. And to give you a sense of comparison, between what happened, the whole industry is moving rather to the blockchain and leaving the Bitcoin. And the reason why is because, as some speakers have said earlier, there was a very aggressive or non-supportive aspect to the regulators. Banks don't like to deal with Bitcoins, and et cetera, et cetera. But if you come to the bank, and we know that because we've been working with banks and we've been working also with financial institutions, and one of them is, you could see the NASDAQ stock exchange in New York, where now the whole blockchain technology is implemented to run the platform, and some of these people are actually working for ANX. So again, the most important thing for us is how do we resolve the problem of executing the transactions in terms of time and in terms of capacity. We are there. I can say that we are very close to some innovative solutions, but we are working very hard. Actually, we are in Dubai focusing on some initiatives, and I think that there are great initiatives that can be, where we see a very scale of opportunity, and also comparatively, I think it's a good ecosystem. It's not very big, so we can control the implementation of any project that we're doing, and also we have a lot of support. That's very important. I mean, if you don't have support in what you're doing, I don't think you'll be very successful. I would like also, maybe we haven't talked a lot about the digital legal network. So we are very focused, again, on investing into the legal framework to digitalize all the legal framework. All the paperwork, for example, the back end, the settlement on a bank of transaction. IBM was referring earlier to the port situation where you're going to receive an LC and then have it cleared and then confirmation, etc. So all of this, the first thing needs, before even we get into the blockchain, before even we get into delivering the authentication of the transaction, the first thing is to have all the legal part in place. And that legal part must be a player into the ecosystem itself. We do digital assets in volume already today, as Ken was showing you the live demo. So that's not a problem, and that will be an integrated part of the banking architecture that we are working on. So the input and output of stock exchange, I'm just going to give you a quick idea. Today, all the business in trading, in the financial trading, is run either by third parties or either by hedge funds and etc. So what that does in the financials, it doesn't give necessarily access to individuals immediately. So think of it like this. Let's assume that for a second, Facebook was a network where you will be using it to transfer and transact, okay? So this is exactly the same thing. So at the end of the day, we want that every individual is able to select what fits him best. Let's say, for example, I want to do bonds, I want to do foreign exchange, I want to do whatever I want to do, and not necessarily go by advisories or hedging and etc. What that does, it generates much more profit in terms of volume, but directly to individuals, and we can only do that because of the technology that is available today. Before, we were not able to do these things. The payment solutions, as we already have this in place, we can deliver white labeling on that. We have also the first cards that one can use. It's a very interesting thing because if you look at, there is some big project that are actually implemented in countries like Kenya, where utilizing the blockchain technology solve the problem of the transaction and the operational costs. So I think, I'm sorry to say, but people like Western Union will be out of the business very soon, just for the reason of the fees that they are charging. So with the blockchain technology, I can, for example, transfer money from London to Kenya using the blockchain on a platform and holding the transaction for maybe an hour or even less than that, and turn it from the Bitcoin currency back to its original currency without taking a hit on the fluctuation of the currency itself. So there is many ways that are being used now, and I think that this is still to be evolved, and it's a good thing that it consolidates ultimately the payment solutions. Foreign exchange, as you know, that's one of the big business everywhere in the world. But the way we look at it, we want to give access, again, on the banking platform to everyone that want to transact without having to report to third parties. But it can, again, only be done with a trail of a legal framework that is itself incorporated into the blockchain technology. So what I mean about that, let's say, for example, I want to send the money to London, and then from there convert it back to a different asset. Okay, so what does regulate this today? Not much. Anybody can do what he wants by using the blockchain technology at some point. That's why the regulators are not happy, and that's why nobody is helping that, because they want to be in control. And the reason why they want to be in control is not that they are freaks, it's just because they have to control how an economy is managed. And I think that we have to put more emphasis and more investment into the legal part. I'm not going to be longer than that. I think my time is out. Thank you very much.